Welcome to the test kitchen of certified Angus beef, where on the menu is one of our favorite classic recipes of surf and turf. But since we're in the certified Angus beef brand test kitchen, we say turf and surf. The land is before the sea here, you get it. But stick around because we've got a classic surf and turf, but my favorite one is to follow. Here's what we're going to accomplish today in the test kitchen. Two different surf and turf recipes. One of them is really based on a classic that is a recipe on our website. So it's crab meat on top of a filet mignon with hollandaise sauce, and we'll show you a super simple way to do it. The other is a classic technique of cooking, but it's my personal favorite using a strip steak and scallops, so you have to stick around for the bonus. And as always, for our recipes and techniques, make sure you subscribe right here. Let's start with the first recipe. Let's get the crab meat ready and put aside, and then we'll cook the fillets and make the hollandaise. Crab meat. So I've got some lump crab meat here, and make sure you get lump or jumbo lump specifically. It's the best type of crab meat that keeps a good amount of texture and good lump, right? The others like back fin and claw are really good for crab cakes, but not for this recipe. Just a 1/4 teaspoon of salt is going to go in here, just a little bit. A 1/4 teaspoon of white pepper. And the reason I use white pepper in this recipe is because I don't want to see the coarse black pepper, black being the hull of the white peppercorn itself. A little bit of shallot, so this is just about a tablespoon of shallot. It's a milder onion. And then some lemon zest. So a way I like to do lemon zest is to use a microplane, simple tool like a rasp, but micro style. And I just run the lemon as I rotate it over the rasp. And only looking for about a teaspoon, which would be about 1 lemon's worth. Don't go too far into the pith. Stir this up and we'll set it aside, keeping it chilled. Oh, you can smell the subtle sweetness of the crab. This is going to be perfect with the filet. Set that aside and we'll refrigerate it. Let's get started on our hollandaise sauce. This is what we call in the kitchen a cheater hollandaise. It's a super simple recipe. Hollandaise can be intimidating because it's something that's a classic sauce that's kind of easy to break. It starts with egg yolks, adding some acid to it, and then we're going to add the butter fat into it. So let me get the butter melting so we're ready to go. I've got to get the butter up to 185 degrees. And that's important because the yolks are raw. We start with the yolks with the lemon juice in the blender, and then we're going to add the hot butter because it's actually going to cook those yolks. 3 yolks and 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. And just a little bit of cayenne. In this case, just a 1/4 teaspoon. We're going to pulse that. Just a little bit to get those moving. This is when we're going to build the sauce by slowly pouring the hot butter into it. So I'm measuring 185, 190. That's good because you want to be over 185. I'm going to pour this into something that allows me to pour it into the blender nice and slow. Blender on low. And then gradually, just a little at a time, introduce the hot butter. So once you have a little bit in, you can kind of gradually turn up the speed of the blender. As it starts to emulsify, and you can see it's starting to thicken. Perfect. And you can see how thick that is? Great emulsification. Now I got to keep this warm, okay? So I'm going to keep this warm while we cook our fillets. Just keep it kind of near the stove. All right, so let's season these up so we're ready for the grill. Fillets, just a little salt and pepper. Just a little bit of salt and pepper is all you need, but all over. And then we'll get these on the grill. Nice and hot grill. Good grill marks on each side. That's what I'm looking for. I don't know if you noticed the amount of marbling that were in these. For a tenderloin, that's amazing. That's certified Angus beef. Just look for the logo. That's what you'll find. To cook them all the way on direct isn't going to work, but I want good diamond grill marks, so I'm going to get probably a minute or two right here. I'm gonna turn and get some diamonds, flip and do the same thing, and then move them to the cool side of the grill. My target temperature is about 120, 125, so that I'd make medium rare. Look for your choice of doneness right here. Oh yeah. Oh, those diamond grill marks are perfect. That's exactly what I'm looking for. Now that I've got good grill marks on each side, I'm going to set them on the cool side of the grill to finish cooking over here at a lower temperature. Now that we have the steak off the grill, let's put together a fantastic filet. Oh, that tenderloin looks so good. Look at that. Perfect grill marks on each side. We've got it to a nice, perfect medium rare inside. Now, remember that lemon zest we put in here? It gives it that ideal brightness that goes so well with such a subtle, sweet flavor of crab meat. And then the hollandaise. Let's see if this can pour right out of here. Oh, yes, look at that. Put as little or as much as you'd like, which means I'd like a lot. You have to think about every bite that you cut of steak, you want to dip in this wonderful hollandaise and have a bite of crab, so it's truly a surf and turf to remember. Top it with a little chives. Ooh, can't wait to dive into this one. But stick around because I've got my personal favorite, a strip steak, scallops, and bacon cream sauce. That was pretty good. Crab, hollandaise, pretty good. On a filet, exceptional. Now let's see if we can up it even more. Certified Angus Beef brand prime strip steaks. Take a look at that marbling. This would be my steak of choice for a surf and turf. We're going to sear scallops. We're going to create a bacon leek cream sauce. I told you it's worth waiting for. We are going all in. So a little salt and pepper. You notice how tiny these are? They're strip fillets. So we just took a New York strip steak and cut it essentially in half to get these cute little fillet shapes. And we're going to do a classic pan sear. We'll get a little oil, make sure we're hot. Good. You know your pan is hot when the oil is smoking. It's perfect. Seasoning down. About a medium-high heat on the pan so we get a good sear on each side. That's super important. I'm not going to cook these the full time in the pan. I'm going to get a good crust on both sides, pull them out and finish them in an oven that's about 225 degrees. Oh, that's what we're looking for. Good sear on each side. A grill does a really good job of getting those grill marks, but there's something about that crust all over that surface. I'm going to see if I can get the edge a little crispy while I'm at it. So I'm going to pull it off and get these in the oven. When doing sauté, it's important that all your ingredients are ready. I don't know if you noticed this, but everything's been ready. My scallops, ready to go in the pan right after the steak. The steaks are in the oven at about 225 degrees, so I can baby them on the way to their finished spot of medium rare, about 120 internal degrees. I might put a little more oil to make sure this doesn't stick. Scallops have a lot of water in them. A little oil coming off the heat just so it doesn't scorch. Perfect, okay. And we'll put these scallops in the same hot pan. What we're doing is building flavor in this pan. That steak left its little nubbins. Scallop will leave its flavor. Scallops are so good when they're cooked perfectly, just like steak. You really want to get a crust on each side and don't overcook them. When you start to see all of that moisture weep out in a milky color, you've overcooked them. Get a good crispiness on each side. In fact, the French serve them almost cold in the center. I'm going to season the other side before I flip them. Oh, perfect. That's what you want. Good crust on each side. You notice the amount of space we have in the pan? That's super important. Plenty of space around each thing that you're cooking so that they're not too close shoulder to shoulder. That way they can really cook around the edges. Now come off with the scallops and then we'll quickly build our sauce. So one pan for the whole meal is the idea. And we're gonna kind of plate this family style in the end, be a nice platter. Scallops are ready, steaks are still cooking, don't worry about them. And we'll get our bacon. Bacon just goes really well with scallops, and it doesn't hurt to have that nice smoky flavor to go with the steak also. Let that move around a little bit, render some of that fat, and also start cleaning up the bottom of that pan. And to really make sure we clean up the bottom, we're gonna add some white wine here after the leeks go in. The leeks are a nice subtle onion flavor, and we cut them in a really thin julienne. And leeks, because they're grown in a really sandy soil, you wanna make sure you wash those. It's super important to wash those leeks. I'm gonna hit it with a white wine. A little bit of white wine. And I'm just gonna cook that white wine off. Oh, it's perfect. Now, cream, just a little bit. What is that, about a quarter cup? Okay, maybe a half cup. Now we can let this reduce and thicken a little bit. We'll check the doneness of our steaks and we'll plate this up. Oh, that's perfect. Cream is thickening up just to the right consistency. This is a sauce about building flavors. It's about building from the steak at the beginning, the scallop addition, the bacon, the leek, the cream, all coming together. To me, this is true surf and turf. I'm gonna plate this for a crowd. Just before it's ready to plate, finish it up, we'll just put some spinach in. Gives it great color and flavor. We'll put the steaks on. And don't forget the surf. Scallops. Strip steaks, scallops, serves 4 people. Today we showed you 2 surf and turf recipes. Tell us in the comments which is your favorite. As always, thanks for joining us in the test kitchen. We'll see you next time.